心忘れないで
Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of my Boston Marathon SUB-3 journey. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about technology. I've been in tech a long time, and part of my job at different points in time was product manager. So I've been kind of product manager on the hardware and software side, and I've done tons of business development as well. And when I was at WorldMate, we were building apps for all of the PDAs and smartphones. So I basically got to play with virtually every PDA, BlackBerry, or smartphone built from like 2000 to 2007 or 8 until the iPhone really came out. I got pre-production units of all those devices and got to play with them for a month or two before handing them off to the engineering team. So I have a deep experience in hardware, at least in the mobile space, and software as well. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit about what tech I used to use and what tech I use today. So let me get out my list here. Let's see. Okay, so way back when I was in high school, my very first running watch was this old Casio. Well, it was new at the time, but it was super cool. I think it took like up to 30 laps. And I love the start-stop lap buttons on the front. I thought this was the coolest watch ever. So this was 1986. After that, after I graduated from high school, I basically stopped running for a long time. So my next running watch wasn't until 2008. And that's when I got this Garmin 305. You can see this big gray kind of lump in the front. That's actually the antenna. I wish they kind of still made watches like this today, because that gives you really good GPS reception. And I remember way back when, before I bought the watch, I wanted to do some research. And that's when I first came across DC Rainmaker. I'm sure most of you know who he is now. He's still going strong, pumping out great reviews. But anyways, after reading DC Rainmaker in 2008 or so, I bought the 305 and used it for a couple years, and was really happy with it. The next watch, I made a major upgrade. This was the Garmin 910 XT. It was really a watch for triathletes, but it just looks super cool, and I love the buttons and everything. So in 2012, that was my running watch, and I used it up until 2014, when I got this beautiful, well, I don't know, but white and orange 620, the Garmin Forerunner 620. And I used that for a couple years, and then towards the end of 2015, I got this Garmin 235, and that's the watch I've been using really all the way up until now, when I have switched full-time to the Apple Watch 4. Now, the Apple Watch 4 has a couple of problems, and I've documented them extensively in some of my other videos, but the GPS reception is, let's just call it so-so. And so to mitigate that, I use this foot pod from Stride. It gives really accurate and precise distance and pace measurements. What I mean by that is it's almost always right, and it doesn't waver more than 0.5% or so. Even if you run the same course 9 or 10 times, you're going to be within a very small fraction of error. So that's great. So that allows me to use the Apple Watch as my day-to-day watch, and as my running watch. Now, there is still one problem that I'm starting to come across now with the Apple Watch 4, and that's to take lap splits. Typically, if you use the workout app within the Apple Watch, you have to tap the screen twice, or swipe, or long press, and that doesn't really work when you're running, especially when you're doing hard intervals. So by using third-party apps, either the Stride app for the FootPod or iSmooth Run is another great option. You can simultaneously press both the crown and the side button right here. Let's see if I can get to focus. Anyways, if you double press those, you can set that to do lap splits, and that actually works really well. I almost never mispress it, except when I'm wearing gloves. And if I'm wearing gloves, it's a total disaster. So I usually have to take off my gloves to do a start-stop lap split. It's a little bit annoying, but it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make because now I don't have to have a running watch for 1.5 hours a day and another watch for the rest of the day. I can just use my Apple Watch full time. What else do I use? So I do some sleep tracking. I've started doing this recently because it actually is really helpful for me. If I see overnight my resting heart rate goes up by, let's say, 3 or 4 beats, I'm usually pretty sure either I'm totally run down or I'm about to get sick. It usually gives me about 12 to 24 hour lead time, so I know something bad's going to happen. And if I see that, then I can try and take it a little bit easy. I don't know if I've eliminated any colds or anything like that, but it is really fascinating to see your heart rate when you're sleeping. And if you do see those elevated levels, it could mean you're overtraining or you're about to get sick. So it's good feedback, so I enjoy using that. And then, as I showed you yesterday in episode 1, the app I use to track my workouts and get them downloaded from my coach is called Final Surge. And there's a bunch of other programs out there, and some do a really good job of analysis, like Training Peaks or Golden Cheetah, or I think WKO4. I think that's the name of it. A bunch of other kind of online and apps you can use. Final Surge isn't as in-depth in terms of analyzing the workout, but it's really good for seeing kind of the summary results as I showed you yesterday. It's very readable. It's really easy to get the workouts from my coach and update the workouts and see how my progress. And then finally, the Wahoo Ticker. I've been using this up until the Apple Watch 4. I find that if you really want to train with heart rate, the optical heart rate sensors still are problematic, and you really need to use a chest strap, I feel, to get consistent and accurate results. Now, I am using the Apple Watch 4, and the new heart rate monitor I think is markedly better, but I have had some snafus with it. A couple times, and this happened during a race, it didn't start tracking my heart rate till about 10 minutes into the run. And there's a lot of smoothing going on. There's some weird stuff. Sometimes I think it picks up cadence instead of heart rate. And you have to be very careful how you affix it to your wrist to make sure that it's got a good position with which to measure the heart rate. And I know DC Rainmaker says that it's really, really good. Like I said, I've had still some mixed results with it in day-to-day use. And I just use heart rate now basically as one more data point to look at in the run. I'm not training by it. It's just kind of a nice to have. Other than, as I said, with auto sleep, I am using it to track my sleeping. So since I'm not that concerned about the accuracy or precision of the heart rate, I just use what's on the Apple Watch. So that makes my life really simple. I just use my Apple Watch and I use my Stride FootPod. Okay, so for shoes, I'm one of those people that love to watch shoe reviews. I'm endlessly fascinated how detailed the reviewers can get about the uppers, the midsoles, the outsoles, and the feel. Frankly, when I put on a shoe, if it's comfortable, that's almost enough for me. Just want to make sure that it's not too heavy. But I can't really tell how good one shoe is over the other. When I run several hundred miles in a shoe, I don't know if it's totally shot or still has life left. I think the only way really for me to tell would be to run with a new version of that shoe side by side to see if there's a marked difference or not. So I have to admit, maybe I'll get better, but right now I'm really not that great when it comes to shoes. But here's what I'm wearing now. For all of my kind of easy runs, long runs, recovery runs, just about everything except for the tempo stuff, I'm using this. It is the Skechers Go Run Ride 7. And I can't believe I'm running at Skechers. It's a Manhattan Beach, California-based company. The founders are family, and they originally started LA Gear. And I've never been a big fan of their casual shoes. And I thought the running shoes were a joke until I tried these, and they're like $90. They're actually very light, and I love them. They're super comfortable for me. This, by the way, if you can see, is the Stride foot pod on here. Anyways, so I'm using these for just about all of my miles, except for the fast stuff, where I'm using this hideously gaudy shoe. And this also is a Skechers. This is the Skechers Go Run Razor 3. I know they're coming out with a couple other colors. This probably is the ugliest shoe I've ever worn. But it's great. It's very light, and it's super responsive. I think I know what that means. And I just love it. So these are my two shoes. They're both Skechers. I'm not partial to any one brand. I've run in just about several. Well, I've run in Sauconys and like them very much. The Kinvara 7s. I've run in the New Balance Beacon New Foams, which I liked very much. The Nike Epic React, which I liked very much. The Nike Pegasus 35, which I didn't like very much. Just didn't fit my foot shape very well. And so when I race Boston, I'm still deciding what to wear. The favorite of marathoners today is the Nike Vaporfly 4%. And I think that's where I'm leaning to, but the shape of the last and the shoe seems to be quite similar to the Pegasus 35, which wasn't so comfortable for me. So I don't know if I'm ready to drop $250 on a shoe that may not be that comfortable, that I can maybe wear for 4 or 5 races and then have to throw out because the foam wears out. So it'll be a decision I'll make probably in March, and I'll be sure to run a couple of longer runs in whatever shoe I will do the marathon in. And finally, my lowest tech device is this guy. It's just a logbook, a weekly logbook, where I like to keep track of my runs. Almost as a memento. Everything is uploaded into Final Search, so I can get all sorts of details, slice and dice the data. But when I was a kid, I actually learned how to fly airplanes. And at that time, the pilot's log were books like this, and we would log every sortie. So I still like doing that. I find it kind of fun. I know it's very retro and throwback, but I've been kind of taking a few photographs of this to show you guys what it looks like. Here's one now. But yeah, it's fun. It's, something maybe I can give to my grandkids one day so they can light a fire with it. I don't know. Anyways, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I've had a lot of good response from my first video for my Boston Marathon training. This is the second one. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this video, hit the like button. And we'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.